Let us pray. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear God, in this moment, we stand at the threshold of possibility and promise, a brief time to reflect before the hard work begins anew. We thank you for everything that has made this day possible, life itself, through which all is realized, stability and strength of body and mind, by which we are able to do all that we do, nurturing relationships of family, friends, and mentors, the web of support beneath our individual accomplishments. And only lastly, the most readily observable aspect of our success, the institutional excellence which has prepared us to live lives of reputation and usefulness. Let us commit to give just as we have taken, to extend in a network of mutual concern our arms of support just as we have been supported, to excel just as those around us and before us have excelled, so that our short lives become ever more beautiful as we reach so hopefully, perhaps even naively, towards a future even brighter than we have yet imagined. This we ask by your grace. Amen.
Good morning, everybody, and congratulations to you, the class of 2013, the 39th graduating class of the Warren Alpert Medical School. In minutes, you will be doctors with all the opportunities and excitement and responsibilities and respect the position entails. I likewise wish to congratulate the families and spouses, significant others, and friends for their role in helping these graduates reach their goal. You as supporters have built a legacy that will play out in future years through all the patients that these young doctors will care for. We are, I think, joined today, but I don't see them, by previous deans of the medical school, Dean Stanley Aronson, Dean David Greer, and Dean Richard Besdine, whose respective tenures launched us onto our current trajectory. And I also want to welcome the classes of 1978, 83, 88, 93, 2003, and 2008, who've been celebrating their reunions this weekend, and members of the Brown Medical Alumni Board. So you are my last graduating class as dean. So I thought I would briefly share one of the aspects of medicine that I found most meaningful, and I hope in the future you will as well. I've taken care of HIV-positive patients since the beginning of the epidemic in the early 1980s. And when it started, we did not know the cause, and we had no treatment, and almost everybody died. Infections such as pneumocystis and tumors such as Kaposi sarcoma ravaged patients' bodies, and dementia destroyed their minds. And to make it worse, they were untouchables. Literally, no one wanted to touch them or share their food. And unfortunately, a few physicians refused to treat them. But most doctors followed the demands of the profession. They cared for and touched them, treated them as they could, and comforted them always. And it wasn't easy. This terrible epidemic illustrates the core precept of our profession, and that is to put the patient first, even if there is a risk or inconvenience to ourselves. And because of this, we can always take great satisfaction in doing the right and honorable thing. The principle also results in the very high esteem and respect that the medicine profession has. In 1986, the cause of HIV was discovered, a human retrovirus, and the scientific door was opened. Diagnostic tests were quickly developed, and science turned its incredible power to producing effective antiviral drugs. By 1996, HAART, or highly effective antiretroviral treatment therapy, came into common use, and patients suddenly began living. I had patients who were losing their eyesight to CMV retinitis, or they had tuberculosis, or terrible bacterial infections. And when we started HAART, they seemed to come back from the dead. Now HIV is a chronic, treatable disease. So a second wonderful thing about this profession is that we have science on our side. We can understand it and participate in it and use it for the good of our patients. Science is incredibly exciting now, and we will see advances in the future that we can't even imagine. The HIV epidemic is worldwide, unfortunately. You can see the disease as it was before antiretroviral therapy in developing countries, such as our program in Kenya or in Haiti. This next year, I will be traveling overseas to care for patients and teach on the wards of medical schools where HIV can account for up to 50% of the patients, and the mortality is 10% per day on the wards. Thus, medicine allows you to practice and teach with fellow healthcare workers in many different environments and circumstances, always making a difference. And perhaps the most important of all my experiences has been the relationship with patients. My practice now has people in it who I first started caring for 15 years ago when I first came to Brown. My patients seem to run a Shakespearean range of personalities. They are brave and stoical in the face of their disease, and they're almost all incredibly grateful and express their appreciation in many ways. When I said I was stepping down as dean, their faces became worried. And they said, "You aren't leaving me, are you?" And I reassured them that I am not leaving them. I'm grateful to them for the privilege of entering their lives and being able to work on their health with them. And my greatest satisfaction in my career has been caring for patients throughout my entire career. So you are entering a profession where you do the right and honorable thing in your lives. You will participate in science. You will be a member of an international fellowship of physicians. And you will have the privilege of caring for patients, a true honor. So congratulations on entering a great profession.
It is my extreme privilege to be introducing to you our faculty speaker, Dr. Beth Gentilesco, today. Dr. Gentilesco is a clinical assistant professor of medicine here at the Warren Alpert Medical School of Brown University, where she also serves as the associate program director for the internal medicine residency program, as well as the site director for the internal medicine clerkship. Finally, she's also a practicing internal medicine hospitalist at the Miriam Hospital. Dr. Gentilesco grew up in New York, received her Bachelor of Arts in Geology from Amherst College, and her medical degree from Cornell University. She then went on to complete her internal medicine residency at Stanford and then joined the faculty here in 2007. When I was first asked to introduce Dr. Gentilesco, I was beyond excited because she is extraordinary. As I began to collect my thoughts, I really struggled, however, to find the right words for somebody who is so worthy. Dr. Gentilesco is compassionate and generous and genuine and so funny. She is a mentor, an advisor, confidant, and friend to so many of us and to me for the past year. During that time, she taught me perhaps one of the most important lessons that I've learned here at Brown. For those of you who know me, you know that I like order and certainty in my life, but so often our lives as physicians don't offer us that. Life, being a doctor, can be hard and challenging and sad all at once. But Dr. Gentilesco taught me that that's okay, and more than being okay, that I should embrace it, because medicine is so wonderful and noble a profession, not only for the joyous and rewarding moments, but also for the sadness, the disappointments, and the hardships that come with taking care of patients and taking care of people. This I will carry with me always. So as I close my remarks, I can truly say that there are no words worthy of Dr. Gentilesco, because when you meet her, she doesn't just enter your life. She touches the lives of every person that she encounters. And I know this to be true because she has touched mine, and I know that she will touch yours today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Beth Gentilesco.
Many thanks, Emily. That was very lovely. Good morning. A few thank yous first. Dean Wing, thank you. And to the former deans as well. To the faculty and alumni here today. I'm very, very proud to be in your company. A special thanks, of course, to the parents and families who are here. Your support, your unconditional love is very powerful and invaluable. Mostly my sincere thanks, class of 2013. Congratulations. And I'm very humbled by the opportunity to address you today. Today I'm going to talk about secrets. Secrets and lessons I've learned over the years and that I'm still learning. I started thinking about secrets as a theme when I graduated from college. That day when I graduated, our student speaker, he was also named Jonathan, he shared a wonderful anecdote that I've remembered all these years. He became a prominent rabbi, and I've spoke to him recently. He agreed to let me share the story with you. Everyone has two secrets, he said. When Jonathan came to college, he felt like he had finally arrived. Here he would belong. Here he would be recognized for his intellect, for his curiosity, his mind. He would fit in here. But then he met his roommate, and his heart sank. Joe walked in. Joe was a football player from Boston, and it is reported that the diameter of his neck exceeded Jonathan's waist. So with a heavy heart, Jonathan started to unpack. He put his clothes away. He took a shelf on the bookcase and put his books away. And then he started to unpack his music. And as he started unpacking his music, he felt Joe looming over him. Vivaldi, says Joe. And Jonathan nodded. I love Vivaldi, said Joe. And Jonathan nodded again. I used to play Vivaldi on my violin, but my arms got too long. At this point, of course, Jonathan realized he had been bested. He was guilty. He was guilty. He had wanted to be recognized for his ideas and his mind, and he had been too quick to judge his new roommate. He hadn't seen past the facade, because some people play football and Vivaldi. And so Jonathan reminded us everyone has two secrets. I've used this mantra over the years to remind myself not to be judgmental. I should be open-minded. Things are not always what they seem. This is really good advice in medical school, for there are lots of secrets to be learned. And I learned these secrets about my patients and my teachers. I have a powerful memory from medical school when Dr. Cohen came to the lecture hall with a patient of his. He was advising us before we began our third-year clerkships. So we were armed with 2 years of pathophysiology and we were ready for clinical medicine. So, Mr. Smith, says Dr. Cohen, you and I have known each other a long time, and Mr. Smith nods in agreement. And during those years, you've gotten to know me pretty well as a doctor, as a man, wouldn't you say? Yes, that's the only reason I'd agree to talk to 100 students, said Mr. Smith. And you think I'm a pretty good doctor, prompted Dr. Cohen, and Mr. Smith, again, of course, agrees. And can you tell the class what is the secret to being a good doctor? And Mr. Smith smiles broadly and easily, and he says, Dr. Cohen's a great doctor. He always calls me back. And Dr. Cohen stops and looks at us. Had we just learned that the secret to being a good doctor was in calling a patient back? What of the hours spent studying and practicing and dissecting and studying? So, of course, these are important, and it is our professional obligation to practice to the highest standards. And then we have to be expert communicators, too, and, well, nice, normal people. And everyone has 2 secrets. The great Dr. Cohen calls his patients back. And then came the clinical years in medical school, my favorite, finding out about our patients' secrets. And this is really the fun and the wonder and the privilege of becoming a physician. And the truth is, I got to watch you learn how to do this as you rotated with me at the Miriam Hospital. I watched Anita as she took care of the same patient all month long during her sub-internship. And I watched Saul and Jean as they wide-eyed rushed to present in rounds because they knew things that we didn't know yet. And then there are more secrets. Audrey's going to become a surgeon where she's going to learn the secrets from the inside out. And Emily will, in a dark room, will see pictures of our secrets. You see, I think you've gotten pretty good at learning your patient's secrets. And this will serve you so well. And the stories, those memories that you have, they'll stick with you. You'll draw on them, and you'll repeat those stories as we have repeated them to you. And it's a really important part of learning how to be a doctor, but it's not the end of the process. So I started residency. And I wondered about Jonathan's speech. Whose secrets was I looking for now? I had pretty much learned how to find my patient's secrets. I had learned the secrets of the trade from my teachers. And Jonathan's secret reminded me to be open-minded. So, what next? Interestingly, the secrets I was looking for in residency were my own. It turns out that learning how to be a doctor in the world requires some self-reflection. I had to learn to be comfortable in my new role with my new responsibilities, and all while being taxed. And I mean taxed in the ways you would expect. I worked a lot of hours, I was tired. Sometimes I didn't eat well, and my family didn't see me much. So how was I to do this? How was I to do this when I felt pulled in different directions? And I found this assemblage of emotions disorienting. Happiness and despair seemed to coexist in a way that was new for me. Frustration and elation. Was this normal? How could I get a handle on myself to become the physician that I wanted to be? I am moved by a particular passage from Somerset Maugham. He was a writer who had trained as a physician, and he talked about how important his medical training was in helping him as a writer, because that taught him that real people are multidimensional, and so he created characters as such. He said, "The normal is an ideal. It's a picture that one fabricates of the average characteristics of men, and to find them all in a single man is hardly to be expected. Selfishness and kindliness, idealism and sensuality, vanity, shyness, disinterestedness, courage, laziness, nervousness, obstinacy, and diffidence. They can all exist in a single person and form a plausible harmony. A plausible harmony. Well, maybe I was getting somewhere. I recall the day in internship. It was full of bright California sun, and I drove home after a 36-hour shift. I was bleary-eyed, hungry, and I had many of those seemingly conflicting adjectives that Mom listed. And I was proud and pleased, but I was also somehow cold, more shrewd than I had recognized in myself, yet at times also more altruistic. I felt like a walking oxymoron. How was I supposed to make sense of my professional identity? And then there were the goats. Hundreds of goats. The park across the street from my apartment was a lovely California open space with native brush and grasses, and that day, as I drove by, it was filled with hundreds of goats. And in my post-shift haze, I thought I had lost my mind. Now, I know there will be some of you here who know that those goats are there as natural brush control. And that's true, it's a common Western technique to stem fire danger, but I'm a girl from New York, and I didn't know this. I thought that residency in California had conspired, and that I no longer had a grip on reality. So you see, I was pushed to the limits of my self-exploration. I tried to understand how a good doctor could have selfish feelings, or how I could be so proud and so scared at the same time. What sort of person was I? Well, these thoughts rendered me vulnerable, so vulnerable that I didn't know whether the goats were real. So there's good news for the heroine of our story. I parked the car carefully. I went inside. I said to my husband, "You see the park across the street?" And he was doing something else, and he said, Oh yeah, get a load of those goats. I wonder what that's all about. And I nodded. I didn't want to admit my existential crisis, and I went to sleep. A plausible harmony. Now, I think I'm starting to understand. The secrets I learned about in residency were my own. I learned to confront my weaknesses, rely on my abilities, and become truly skilled. And again, Jonathan's words resonate for me. Everyone has two secrets. And the secret I learned in internship that I was now a real doctor in the real world. And I couldn't be more proud. And every day I feel privileged and humbled and useful. And I very much welcome you to our club. So remember, everyone has two secrets: Vivaldi, a phone call, goats. Find those secrets and seek them out. It will make you a better doctor. And don't forget, those secrets may be your own. Congratulations to you all.
I told my wife I'd be introducing John today. She said, "That's easy. All you have to do is be brief and make fun of John." And as usual, I only half listened to her. I hope you won't be disappointed by which half. For those who don't know me, my name is Mike DeSimone. I'm here to introduce the Warren Alpert Medical School class of 2013 student speaker, John Treem. Over the last 4 years, I have had the great privilege of being not only a classmate and sometimes roommate of John's, I've had the privilege of being his friend. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about him before he comes up to give his address. Despite what he might tell you, John is an outstanding medical student. He's loved by his classmates and his teachers alike. He's completed a scholarly concentration in aging. He's a co-founder of the student organization Branch, which grows its own food and then donates it to needy members of the Providence community while teaching them about nutrition and health. He has been inducted into the Gold Humanism Honor Society, and he was chosen to speak to the incoming class of medical students this year at their white coat ceremony. He has an incredibly promising future as he heads down to the University of Pennsylvania to begin his training in internal medicine. Any one of these achievements, and so many others that I didn't mention, would qualify John to come and speak to us today, but that's not why we chose him. We chose him because he is our voice. We know that whatever we're feeling on a day like today or any other day over the last 4 years, John was definitely feeling it too. And he had a unique gift for being able to capture our collective mood, our sentiments, and our feelings and reflect them back to us with an understanding that we just couldn't achieve on our own. John may not always know where he's supposed to be or at what time. He's here, right, John? Okay, good. All right, good. I can go on. He may not always know where his cell phone is, and if he did, it wouldn't matter because it's not charged anyway. He does not know how to hold on to a set of keys, but he knows more important things. He knows how to listen and how to empathize. He knows how to comfort a friend. And when the time comes, I know that he will also know how to make his patients feel safe and cared for on the worst days of their lives. John is a unique individual, a remarkable human being, and I have no doubt that he will also be a remarkable physician. He is a delicate flower with the voice of an angel. He is your class of 2013 student commencement speaker and my very dear friend. Ladies and gentlemen, John Treem.
Thank you so much, Mike. I tend to have a pretty loud voice, so sorry if it's even worse in the back. My name is John, like Mike said, but you can all call me Dr. Treem. Okay, first things first, before anything else happens, I think it definitely goes without saying, but it absolutely requires saying, that nobody here who's graduating could be here without everybody else in this room who's here to support us. So if you'll just take a moment, MD Class of 2013, to applaud your loved ones and your parents and everyone who brought you here. Thank you. Okay, second thing second. A funny thing is about to happen in about an hour. From now on, when someone meets you, one of the first things they may ask you is, what do you do? And you will be able to respond with, I am a doctor. All right. And that might be simple enough, but if you pay close attention, a funny little play on language has happened. Someone asks you, what do you do? And you respond with, I am. They ask you for an action, and you respond with an identity. And though this may seem innocent, it belies a true confluence, a nod to the understanding that so much of who we are is wrapped up in what we do, that even at the level of language, a little interchangeable. And in no profession is this more true than medicine. When we say, I am a doctor, we mean more than I practice medicine. We're offering a description both of our jobs and of ourselves. And this is true of the skill set of the profession as a whole. It's a marriage between doing medicine and being a doctor. Doing medicine being the practical skill set of physicianhood, the lab interpretations, the physical exam skills, the clinical decision making. And being a doctor, being the character of a person who heals, listening, advocating for patients, caring about outcomes, treating with dignity, and ministering with grace. This duality of doing and being, at its core, it's really a description of the interplay between the science and the art of healing. And what I want to talk about today is this push and pull between these two ideals, the doing of medicine and the being of a doctor. Because so much of the ideal of this profession lies in maintaining a balance between the two. In terms of the practice of medicine, the doing of doctordom, it's really mostly learned. We've started the journey here at Alpert Medical School, but there's so much more ahead in terms of residency and beyond. So Brown has put the sword in our hand, but it's really going to take us a lifetime to learn how to wield it. But still, it's important to look back on what we've already learned. I want you to think back for a moment on the days of the first day of your community mentor's first year. Think about the first time you put on your white coat and you put on your stethoscope, and if you're like me, you loaded up your pockets with every conceivable gadget known to medical science. I had pen lights and reflex hammers and otoscopes and my stethoscope. I think I put a blood pressure cuff in my pocket. And I was going to the Rhode Island Hospital ED. You know, they have blood pressure cuffs. I think I looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man of medical science. And though I may have looked like a doctor, really the only thing I could actually do was ask a patient to rate their pain on a scale of 1 to 10. We had all the compassion in the world, but we wouldn't have known a physical exam sign if it slapped us in the face. I want you to compare that to what you can intuit now about a person just by seeing them walk down the street. You can see Trendelenburg gaits and port wine stains and pill-rolling tremors and epicanthal folds and telangiectasias, and all things that would have just seemed like kind of weird little things 4 years ago, but now are important clues. Or I want you to think about the vocabulary you've gained. All other things aside, we've learned an entirely new language in the 4 years of medical school. And if you need evidence of that, I just want to read you a sentence that I am pretty sure everybody who's been through medical school will be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And everyone who hasn't will be like, what? So this is a 70-year-old man with a PMH of CHF, ESRD, COPD, and remote DVT, here for NSTEMI with a trope bump to 15.2, now 2-day status post-PCI with bare metal stents in the LAD and left circumflex. Right? This sentence would have infuriated me as a first year. But now, I think that made some amount of sense. So we are new practitioners in the skill, the manner, and the language of physicianhood. We are on a way to perfecting the doing of medicine. But at the same time as this explicit education and the skill set of medicine, another more implicit education has been taking place as well. And that is the education of the physician's character, the being of a doctor. These 4 years' experience have worked their way inside. We sat here 4 years ago to get our white coats. And even though the regalia has changed a little bit, that's not the only thing. You are different than you were 4 years ago. There's a conditioning that happens in medical school. With the long days in the library and the longer nights on the wards and the constant reminders that you need to know more, there's a way in which confronting the pain of sickness and the grief of death and the joy of recovery and the struggles of addiction, it reorients your worldview and your view of yourself. And it's this conditioning, this small shift, you just shift a little bit, slightly enough to say, I am a doctor, to mean this is part of who I am. So before we all disperse to become the people and the doctors we're destined to be, I want to spend just a little bit of time reflecting on what exactly this shift has been. We've learned here in medical school what we have learned here in medical school and how we've changed because of it. Medical training is such a long process that in some ways we're primed to always be looking forward to what comes next in our profession. But I want to posit here that there are a few characteristics of being a medical student that we should never want to outgrow. Medical students by necessity develop an amazing skill set just by the nature of going through medical school, and it's not the same skill set as being a doctor. And if moving on to residency or other jobs means outgrowing medical studenthood, I think we do ourselves a disservice. So in school, we have a lot of reflection exercises, and I wouldn't say they were the most universally popular assignments, but I loved them because I like talking about feelings. And because I have a microphone and you don't, we're going to do one last reflection exercise together. I want to walk through some of the ways that being a medical student changes us for the better, some of the qualities of being in this place that I hope we never lose. So you learn early on in medical school how to be humble. We realize we make mistakes, and we spend our entire days asking for help. We are endlessly aware of the limitations of our knowledge and our skill set. We second-guess ourselves, and then we second-guess our second guesses. And just when we think we know something, that's exactly when we realize it was just the tip of the iceberg, and there's a whole continent below it that we have yet to learn. And because of this recognition that there's a universe of knowledge and skills that we have yet to develop, we're open to everything. New ideas, new opinions, new diagnoses, new ways of thinking and doing. We're always trying to be better. And I hope we carry this humility with us. I hope we always remember to be humble in the face of what we can do and what we can't do. To remember that for all the power of medicine, we're always more limited than we want to be. That every day is a new opportunity to do something better than the day before. And humility isn't all that we've learned. We had to learn to be amazing communicators, because for a solid 3 years, that's really all we knew how to do. We were trying to develop our differentials, and we were trying to learn to put lines in and interpret lab data, but the one thing we could always do was listen. We could hear patient stories, and we could translate it to our colleagues. We could communicate the vagaries and the intricacies and the promises and the pitfalls of medicine to frighten patients. We had an experience, and then we reflected on that experience. And then we wrote about reflecting on that experience. And then we talked about what we wrote about reflecting on our experiences. And so from this day forward, remember that when you were a medical student, even when you didn't know what to do, what disease a person had, or what medicine they needed, you still knew how to connect, how to talk and how to listen, how to engage and how to ask for help. Another thing that we really had to learn to do as medical students was be adaptable, be flexible. Nothing goes your way as a medical student. You can't survive in medical school without learning how to bend in the breeze. You studied all night to prepare for surgery X tomorrow, only to come in to see that you were reassigned to surgery Y. Thought you were going into orthopedics, but ended up loving your pediatric clerkship? Time to change your life plans. We had a different electronic medical record at every clerkship, new attendings every day, new teams every week, new clerkships every month. And just when you think you have some idea of what's happening around you, that's exactly the moment you have to do something else the next day. We adapt our oral presentations to different styles, our notes to different formats, our interviews to different patients. So next year when you're on the wards and nothing is going your way, nothing is going as planned, remember how adaptable you were as a medical student. Remember that bend in the breeze. And lastly, the one thing I really hope we all maintain, we all preserve after medical school, is a medical student's sense of wonder. Medicine is amazing, truly and frankly amazing. The tools that are at our fingertips and the possibilities on the horizon are staggering. You can always tell a medical student by how cool they think an appendectomy is, or an ATP pump, or the way they really do care about what color your phlegm is. I'm sure most of us will never, ever forget delivering our first baby. How there were 3 people in the room, and then suddenly there are 4. We get really excited to hold retractors for 5 hours just to see a person's beating heart. We love to suture. We live to suture. Whatever is mundane in to the entire profession is almost invariably exciting to medical students. And when one of our patients walks out of the hospital because of something we did, we smile for days. We congratulate each other and we brag. There are high fives for ABGs and successful hernia exams, not repairs. And abscess drainages. I mean, medical students love draining abscesses. So think back with me for just a moment about what it was like and how amazing it was to watch a well-run code and see someone brought back to life. Remember when you made your first diagnosis. Remember when you saw your first robotic surgery or an organ transplant. There is magic, and there is joy, and there is wonder in the newness and possibility in medicine every day as a medical student. What I sincerely hope for all of us going forward is that we never forget that there's so much in this profession to marvel at. And now we go to residency. We're leaving the days of calling ourselves students behind for the days of calling ourselves doctors. And if you, like me, you were in a rush to get there. It was easy to look forward to the responsibility and the esteem and the paycheck. I was in a rush to learn the practice of medicine, the doing of medicine, the dosages and the protocols, so that I didn't have to feel so lost on the wards. And I was in a rush to slough off the skin of medical studenthood, to trade my white coat, my short white coat for a long white coat, to introduce myself as a doctor. But the truth is, I would do better to figure out how to maintain my studenthood beyond medical school, how to preserve the communication skills and the flexibility and the humility and the sense of wonder that we all carry. Each experience here was a new one, and we threw ourselves into it, and the emotions of them were real. Maybe not always what they thought they would be, but they were real nonetheless. Joy and recovery, grief and death, despair and pain, critique and failure, pride and accomplishment, and intimacy and connection. These responses are the human side of medicine. These are the I am in I am a doctor. So in this light, finding a way to stay a medical student, to preserve the human reaction, the surprise and the gratitude, the disappointment and the fear of each moment, this is probably the greatest gift you can give yourself. The things that will teach us how to do medicine is the training. It's the diagnostic acumen and the differentials in the pharmacology. But the things that will allow us to be a doctor, the humility, the wonder, the adaptability, the humanity, these are the real lessons of medical school, and this was the real education. So MD class of 2013, I can't tell you how proud I am to stand up with you here today. I can't tell you how dizzying it is to look back on all we've come through, matched only maybe by how dizzying it is to look forward on what comes next. But doctors, it has truly been an honor. Thank you.
Graduates, please stand. It is traditional that those about to enter the profession of medicine take an oath before their peers, their faculty, and their families, pledging themselves to certain ethical principles of commitment and professional behavior. This particular oath was written by the MD class of 1975 and has been used by each succeeding class. Please repeat after me. Now being admitted to the high calling of the physician. I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the care of the sick, the promotion of health, and the service of humanity. In the spirit of those who've inspired and taught me, I will constantly seek to grow in knowledge, understanding, and skill. And will work with my colleagues to promote all that is worthy in the ancient and honorable profession of medicine. The health and the dignity of my patient will ever be my first concern. I will hold in confidence all that my patient relates to me. I will not permit consideration of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, nationality, or social standing. To come between me and my duty to anyone in need of my services. This pledge I make freely and upon my honor. Please be seated. Now, I have a little sentence I'm going to read here, which is uniformly disregarded, but please at least listen. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask all of you to applaud just once at the time of the hooding. This will allow us to be more efficient with our time. Thank you.
Sophie Arandi, Omenes pros Aguarum Doctoras, Medicinae Irenaeus Comperamos, Vobis presentamos, et eos adhunt gradum promovere licia rogamo. Candidati ad gradum Doctoris Medicinae ascendat.
Doctoritate mihi commisi, vos ad gradum doctoris medicinae admitto. Omniaque jura a privilegia ad hunc gradum pertinentia vobis concedo, quare in testimonium aec diplomata vobis solemniter trado.
Sir, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Medicine of Brown University. Solomon J. Udelsky. Good job. Thomas Joseph Thornton Anderson. Sarah E. Andaman. Caroline Alice Andrew. Susana Cabral Aniceto. Ortina Asiayi. Maya Barsky. Jasmine Nicole Borknight. Ross Matthew Beckman. Meenal Mahendra Bojani. Erica Lynn Braverman. Michelle Marie Bravo. Allison Marie Brock. James Christian Michael Brown. Brenna Marie Brooker. William J. Brooker. Vivek Paresh Butch. Cynthia Bowie. Audrey Christine Butcher. Christopher Jordan Bird. Michael Franklin Chen Yamos. Eugene Blanchard Cohn. Bradford Vlahos Cotter. Kevin Andrew Coughlin. Andrew Robert Crawford. Ravi Stephen DeCruz. Michael Louis DeSimone. Dustin DeZubi. Camilla Crawford DeMick. Jamie Gaynor DiPietro. Esther Dorzen. Zachary Aaron Drabkin. Emily Amos Edwards. Whitney Margaret Eng. Zachary N. Engler. Pamela Andrea Escobar. Corey Finnerty Ludwig. Talia Ruth Firestein. Elizabeth Bronwyn Gilbert. Bryn Alexandra Gonzalez Ellis. Leslie Brown Gordon. Michelle Marie Goslin. Jeffrey Peter Gannett. Lamia Yasmin Khan Hawk. Herbert Mason Hedberg. Julia Ann Hennigan. Jessica Hart Heaney. Eve Gail Hoffman. Kevin Kunlun Hui. Timothy Winston Jolis. Vinay Nair Campaleth. Joelle Beth Carlick. Brandon Michael Kirch. Benjamin Harris Cohen. Anita Krishnaro. Erin Elizabeth Kunkel. Emily Sho Y Law. Jensen Alexander Law. Preston Carlisle Linson Gentry. Emily Katie Lowe. Daniel Lubin. Johnny Liu. Marina Megan Caitlin McNamara. Andrew Patrick Matson. Hannah McLean. Rory James Merritt. Aisha Nkayabana Nzariba. Zachary Iore Oka. Shannon Loy Oppenheim. Craig Ronald Ortney. Gabriel M. Pachi.
Gabrielle!
Alima Abdul Patel. Chirayu Govind Patel. Andrea Katya Patrico. Wilfredo Perez Jr. Gabriel Joyce Pleasant. Zoe Tess Raleigh. Tony Marie Ramirez. Alexander Grenander Rufy. Alexandra Emily Regenbogen. Saul Matthias John Rivard. Andrew Robin. Amy Elizabeth Robinson. James Robert Rotenberg. Emily Summerfield Rowland. Sarah Beth Schmidhofer. Dana Marie Scott. Thomas Michael Scoop. Ayushman Sharma. Tae Ho Shin. Elizabeth Wang Silberman. James Edward Simmons. Avni G. Sinha. Devin Dirk Smith. Matthew Michael Sockett. Elvira Sofas. Ina Young So. Kizia Latura Spence. Elizabeth Samanda. Jeremy Christopher Stryzek. John Robert Stasinski. Ian Howard Taggart. Jonathan Asher Treem. Sarah Latonia Tribune Bell. Erin Shauna Valenti. Karthik Kailas Venkatesh. Jerry Lee Walters II. Justin Jihoon Yoon. Sir, I wish to report that 5 students have completed their degree requirements and have permission to receive their degrees in absentia. Nicholas Hempel Carter, Wendy C. Huang, Catherine Young Mi Ju, Jeremy Agu Parker, and Ryan Dalton Rossi.
Vedete igitur ut probe integreque in emolumentum reti publicae et Dei honora, et decet eos hoc gradu honoratos vos doratus, sedete doctores medicinae. Soci honorandi hominis quos ad gradum philosophia doctoris et eneos comparamus lobus presentamos et eos ad gradum promovere liceat rogamus. Candidati ad gradum philosophia doctoris escendat.
Actoratati mihi comisit vit vos ad gradum philosophia doctoris admito, omniaque jura a privilegia ad gradum pertinentia vobis concedo, quare in testimonium haec diplomata vobis solemniter trado.
Sir, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy of Brown University. William J. Brooker. Karthik Kailas Venkatesh.
Vedete, Igator, Probe, Integraque, in Amolamentum, Reki, Pruvakai, Eundeti, Anorum, Udecet, Eos, Grado, Anoratos, Los Doratus, Sedete, Doctores, in Philosophia.
I am now Dr. Brooker with Dr. Hennigan, here to present Dr. George with the highest award that it can be bestowed by the class of MD 13, to acknowledge the countless ways in which he has demonstrated commitment to our medical education, both in and out of the classroom.
Dr. George, as a mentor, your dedication is astonishing and your energy is unparalleled. One of your trademarks is sending complete, well-thought, and heartfelt answers to any question at 4 a.m. Around the clock, including many nights and weekends, you have worked to inspire our hearts, soothe our minds, and nurture our futures.
As a teacher, since our first doctoring class, you've lived the example of the doctor we all strive to be. You're a gifted humanistic physician who has taught us our clinical skills and cultivated our application of evidence-based medicine. One of my classmates put it best as, Paul George is a man with two first names because he has two hearts.
You embody the ability to effortlessly and efficiently merge patient-centered care with student-centered teaching. You have sharpened our abilities over the past 4 years, teaching us how to be critical thinkers and compassionate healers. Many of us have learned more from you than from any other attending physician, whether it be about clinical medicine, education, or research.
As a physician, you show your patients the same respect and unwavering dedication that you show us. You treat your patients as if they were your family. Your words and example will guide us as we begin our careers.
As a friend, your personal devotion to us has been unequivocal. You are a role model of kindness. You make every student in the class feel welcome and involved. You made time for us no matter how busy you were or how small our problems. You teach us to be compassionate doctors, all the while being committed to your family. You teach balance and compassion with a side of humor.
And now, we, the class of 2013 and the Alpert Medical School, want to express our special bond with you, Dr. George.
So if you come up. This senior citation is a representation of our everlasting gratitude for your mentorship, inspiration, and commitment. And I got it up right there.
So let us stand for the benediction. We pray a blessing on our new physicians. We have seen them grow, their families from birth, their professors through 4 years of medical school, and some of us for the last 8 or 9 years since they first came to Brown. We have seen some meet their life partners, some start new families, and all grow in knowledge and in the healing arts. And so with great gratitude and love, we invoke a blessing on them, on their work, on their patients, on their colleagues and co-workers. May they be lifted up in the service of health and be a credit to their profession and to this great school. And now let us all go forth in peace and joy. Amen.